Well, hello Year 5 and welcome to week 3 of our Digital Prefects unit. Today we're going to be looking at working collaboratively. Now, what does that mean? Well, collaboratively means working together as a team. And the beauty of doing this on Google Classrooms means that if you're on a computer anywhere in the world, you can work with somebody else that is also connected. Highly important skill that you will need to use whether you are in school or you are remote learning. So we're going to pick up on a lot of the bits and pieces that we learned in week 2 about creating documents, but also how to share these documents so that you can work collaboratively. As ever, we're going to demonstrate an excellent knowledge of e-safety, and then if you can share your skills, you could earn extra digital prefects points. So without further ado, we're going to take a look at how we do this. Okay, so let's get ourselves started. Once we've logged into Google Classrooms, we will take a look at how we create a document just as a reminder. Can you please remember that in today's lesson, only one person in the group that you are working with will actually create the document or be the document author. Now, this is no great big thing. Remember, the important part about today's lesson is the actual collaborative working, not who the document creator is, okay? So we don't want anybody to get too hung up on that. So we're going to use Google Slides today just because that's really good for collaborative working. However, any of the Google documents such as Docs, Sheets and Slides, you can work collaboratively on. And you can even do the same with forms, but we'll not worry about forms today. That's next week's lesson. So the very first thing I do as the author is I create a new Google slide. And obviously I create a blank document. And then it'll take a little while to upload. Now, in a moment, your teacher is going to pause the video and ask you a question. How do I rename this document? Because if we don't rename it, we're going to end up with lots of untitled presentations. So your teacher will pause the video now and ask you how you do this. Okay, hopefully you've remembered that all I have to do is click on where it says Untitled Presentation and give it a name. I'm going to call this one Test today. And there we go. And you'll remember that everything auto-saves and auto-saves to your G drive. A lot of you were very good last week. I watched how you managed to work with a Google slide, and don't forget how you do this. There's the menus here and so on. And if you have a look here, there is the themes. You can change the theme of what your presentation looks like, which is quite a neat way to just give it an instant good look. Okay, I'm just going to get rid of that so that we can see the whole thing nicely. All right, now the next part, the most important part before I start to do any work on this, is I need to share this with the people that I'm going to work with. Now, in a short while, you will have a moment or two to find 1 or 2 people to work with. No more than that. Groups of 3 will be just about the right size. 2 is perfect as well. 3, yes, is how I share it with someone. Yes, indeed. I click on the share button. And this window appears. Now, in a moment, I'm going to type in the name of Alligator. I'm actually going to paste it in because often these clever little things, as you start to type a person's name in, other people's names, the computer will guess, will appear. And obviously, we don't want people's names flashing up on screen on YouTube. So in a moment, you will just see Ali's name appear. Alligator, our fictitious pupil. Remember, you will have to type in their email address. So in a second, it's just going to appear as if by magic. So you can see I've started to type in Ali's name, ali.gator, and straight away it's asked me if this is the person that I want. And there we go. So I am ready to share. If I was sharing with a second person, then obviously I would write their email address in there and I would select when it popped up. You can put a message in, but there's no real point because we all know what we're doing today. So I then click send. And the invitation to that has now winged its way to Alligator, and it's telling me person has been added. I've got Ali's account open here, so we'll just take a look at what it looks like at his end. Now there's 2 ways to access that document. The first way would be to go to my Gmail, where there will be an email notification telling me that I've been invited. However, quicker than that and better practice for us because of last week's lesson is to look in your G drive. Remember, this is where everything automatically saves. And when I open up my G drive, you can see there is the document that was shared with me by me. That's as if I was Alligator. To go into it, I just double click and hey presto, there we are. The document is there. Now you'll notice when it's fully loaded up, just appearing up here in a second, let's get rid of that, just appearing up here in a second, you will see my initial, and this obviously represents Alligator, and there is a chat function. Now, once you have created and shared this document, there should be absolutely no need for you to get up and to walk around and to talk to the people that you're working with. All the communication can be done through the computer. Now this is really cool because if you're collaborating on a document, it doesn't matter where in the world you are. As long as you're on a computer connected to the internet, you can work with somebody else anywhere in the world as long as they're at the other end connected. So any communication you're going to have, if you just click on the chat, you'll see the chat appears here. Now, eSafety top tip. The chat is not there for you to simply say, hello, did you see such and such on TV last night? Blah, 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 smiley face, smiley face. No. Remember, whenever we're using Google, signed on with our Google Classrooms account, we're using it purely for work. Keep it to that, please. Okay, so as Ali, I might say, I am going to do page 1, you do page 2. And that information pops up. Now, if I go back as if it was me, one unread message there for me. I click on that. You can see Ali's in here as well. I'm going to do page 1, you do page 2. I will type back, okay, no problem. And then hit return, and there it is. And again, if I go back to Ali, you can see my message has popped up there. Remember, only use the chat to communicate about what you're doing. Once this is set up, remember, you should not need to get up and walk across the room. And this will be a little bit of a test as digital prefects. If once you're settled and your work is organized and shared, you can actually do that. Now, just a couple of things before we go. What are you going to do your little presentation about? It really does not matter, anything at all. Something you're interested in doesn't really matter. Okay. Second thing, remember eSafety tip number 2. Whenever you are logged on a school computer, there is a checkup system called Visigo, which is keeping an eye what's going on. This is to keep you safe. One of the things that Visigo spots is if certain words are typed in. So, a little bit of a warning here. Please do not choose anything to do with guns or warfare because they are one of the trigger words that will pick up on Visigo. Doesn't like it. Remember, every time you log onto a school computer, you're abiding by our eSafety rules, and our eSafety rules are there to keep you safe. So, very quick recap before you get started with your work. Remember, log into your Google account, decide who is going to be the author and who you are working with. The author creates the document, shares it with the others, check in your G drive for your shared document to arrive, open it, communicate using the chat to decide who is going to do what, and then get started on your work. Really try to have a bit of fun with this. Okay, let's get started.